goes in thinking, wow, they're going to prove this, and they're going to prove this, and they're going to prove this, and all of a sudden, none of it's there. I think that actually helps the defense.
Courtroom by the U.S. Marshals. Now, his lawyers have vowed to fight this. They are going to be back in court on Wednesday before the judge who will oversee this trial and try to get Diddy to be released.
Well, Bill and Sade, accepting a plea agreement would mean that Sean Combs would have to admit to trafficking and force. And today he made it very clear that was not going to happen. Diddy maintained all along these encounters involved consenting adults and plans to take his chances that a jury agrees.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs back behind bars, a magistrate judge denying him bail, saying that there were no conditions that she could conceive of that would make her confident that he would appear again for other court appearances.
The last hearing before Sean Combs' trial starts, when he walked into federal court today, he appeared to be looking for his family. They've pretty much been at all of the hearings that I've been to, but there was no presence of his sons or his mother or his sister who had previously been at those hearings.
Major developments tonight involving the case against Sean Diddy Combs, what he decided in court today, and what this now means, the move coming just 4 days before his trial is set to begin. Here's Aaron Katursky.
Because he believes he's innocent. He believes he's innocent, and what's more, he believes that he needs to stand up, not just for himself, for his family, and for everybody who's been targeted by the federal government.
Okay, buckle up, buttercups. You want the tea on the Bieber/Diddy situation, Madison Star style? Get ready, because this isn't your grandma's news update. This is full throttle, drama-drenched, popcorn-weavy chaos, and I am here for it. Let's dive in. Hey y'all, it's Madison here, back with some scorching hot Hollywood drama that got the internet buzzing like a hive disturbed by a rogue drone. We're talking about two titans of the music world, Sean Diddy Combs and the one and only Justin Bieber. And let me tell you, their paths just collided in a way no one saw coming. Grab your popcorn, pour that wine, and get comfy, because this saga has more twists than a roller coaster designed by a mad scientist. So picture this: Justin Bieber, the guy who went from YouTube sensation to global pop icon, the baby crooner turned purpose philosopher, has just made a move that is shaking the very foundations of the high-profile case against Sean Diddy Combs. You heard that right. Multiple courtroom filings, seen and scrutinized by attorneys for both sides, spill the beans. Bieber has formally agreed to step into the courtroom, not as a spectator, honey, but as a witness for the government. Now, why is this such a monumental, earth-shattering development? Well, up until now, the star witnesses circling the Diddy case have mostly been folks tangled up directly in his business web. Former artists, security detail, execs who lived and breathed the bad boy brand. They're intrinsically linked, right? But Bieber? Oh, honey. Justin Bieber is a whole different animal. He represents a different generation, a totally separate universe of pop music. Like, we're talking stadium anthems versus hip-hop empire here. If you dive deeper into how this is about to flip the script, do me a favor, smash that like button until it cries mercy, and subscribe to the channel. Trust me, you do not want to miss a single scandalous second of what's coming next. Hit that bell too, because honey, this drama train is just leaving the station. Oh, why would prosecutors be practically glowing over Bieber's willingness to testify? Because this move isn't just about adding a celebrity name to a witness list. It's a calculated, strategic power play designed to show that the alleged mess surrounding Combs' entertainment empire wasn't just contained within the hip-hop bubble. Oh no, sweetie. Prosecutors are betting that Bieber's testimony will prove this alleged misconduct reached way beyond the inner circle, touching a broader cross-general network of performers and industry platforms. It's like saying the party wasn't just happening in one VIP room, it spilled out into the entire club. For a jury who might be wondering, okay, who are these people talking about bad boy business? Bieber's name is instant context. He's recognizable, he's relatable, he's Bieber. And for the legal eagles strategizing behind closed doors, snagging a witness whose public persona is carefully crafted around candor, faith, and, dare I say, contrition, that's gold. These are qualities that lawyers know resonate with everyday folks sitting in that jury box, deciding fates. They're hoping Bieber's clean-cut, reformed image makes his words, extra potent. And let's be clear, this isn't just idle chit-chat or industry whispers. Sources deep within the proceedings are practically shouting from the rooftops that Bieber's upcoming appearance is built on solid ground, not shaky rumors. We're talking closed-door proffer sessions, honey. Those are serious sit-downs where you spill the factual tea to the feds before you commit to testifying. And during these sessions, sources say Bieber described getting invitations to private gatherings. These weren't just random hangouts. They were presented as exclusive listening parties or fancy pants networking soirees. Think velvet ropes, but possibly shadier. According to those who were actually in these proffer sessions, Bieber himself stated that he attended a small handful of these events way back when he was just stepping into adulthood. And where were these shindigs held? At venues linked directly to Combs or his affiliates. The locations themselves are part of the puzzle. Now, here's the million-dollar question, or maybe the multi-million-dollar question in this case. What exactly happened inside those spaces? How did people even get in? What were the rules? Were phones surrendered upon entry? You know that whole no phones allowed thing that screams we don't want any pictures? These seemingly small details are the substance of the direct examination the prosecution is prepping to unleash. Bieber hasn't claimed to be a personal victim, and that's key. But prosecutors believe his observations about what went down, how guests arrived, the rules in place, especially that potential phone surrender, the general logistics, will serve a vital purpose. They think his account will corroborate testimony from other witnesses and help fill in critical gaps in timelines and logistical patterns that have already been alleged. We're talking patterns of restricted access, tight security measures, and those pesky NDA requirements. Bieber's testimony is expected to back all of that up. From a legal strategy standpoint, this is huge because Bieber isn't burdened by any past, messy, contractual beefs with Combs. He's not fighting over royalties that weren't paid or publishing splits that went sideways. This, according to the legal gurus, makes his account potentially more credible to a jury. His story isn't tainted by accusations that he's just got a grudge or a financial axe to grind. He's seen as independent. And in a courtroom, independence can be a powerful look. From a public relations perspective, Bieber saying yes to the stand is triggering narratives faster than you can say album release party. His fans and supporters are framing it as totally consistent with his whole recent vibe, the transparency, the faith-based ethics, the interviews where he preaches accountability in the industry. They see him as doing his civic duty, standing up for what's right. On the flip side, the critics are side-eyeing the whole thing, wondering if this is just a slick, pragmatic move to distance his carefully curated brand from any lingering questions about the circles he used to run in. Is it redemption or calculated crisis management? The internet debates. Regardless of the why, this agreement is a rare and fascinating alignment between a millennial pop icon and the Department of Justice. It's practically guaranteed to dominate news cycles far beyond the hallowed halls of the courthouse. Inside those legal circles, the ripple effects are already causing tremors. Combs' defense attorneys? Oh, they are not sitting idly by sipping mimosas. They've already hit the court with demands for early disclosure of every single communication between prosecutors and Bieber's legal team. They are sharpening their knives, signaling loud and clear that they plan to dissect whether any sweeteners were offered in exchange for his testimony. Were there inducements, immunity assurances, little wink, wink, nudge, nudge about reduced exposure in civil cases, or maybe just scheduling perks? They want to know everything. Prosecutors, however, are sticking to their story like glue. They maintain that Bieber volunteered to talk to them after seeing his name pop up on preliminary witness lists. How did his name get there? From seized guest lists. They insist that no concessions beyond the basic stuff you do to coordinate any witness, like figuring out travel plans so a global superstar doesn't cause a riot, were offered or even asked for. The judge, trying to keep things fair while protecting sensitive info, has ordered an in-camera review. That's legal speak for the judge looking at the communications privately to verify the government's claims without spilling all the investigatory tea to the defense just yet. Beyond this immediate procedural skirmish, Bieber's participation is totally recalibrating the emotional vibe of the trial. Until now, much of the media portrayal focused on insiders, former employees, signees. people whose careers were tied to Combs' fortune. Jurors might look at them and wonder if they're just disgruntled former employees with access to grind or financial motives. But Bieber? He's commercially independent, honey. His fame, his fortune, his whole brand comes from separate record deals, separate management teams, a whole different universe of endorsements. When Justin Bieber takes that stand, the courtroom dynamics shift. It's no longer just a dispute within one empire. It becomes testimony about how that alleged empire intersected with the global avenues of mainstream pop. Prosecutors are absolutely planning to exploit this shift. They'll use Bieber's memories to argue that the strict entry controls, the privacy protocols, the event formats, they weren't just isolated incidents. They were consistent across genres and years. It's like they're building a bridge from the bad boy world to the global pop world, using Bieber as the main support beam. Now, let's talk about Bieber himself. Why would he agree to put himself through this under the intense glare of a federal trial? His decision reflects layers of personal history. After navigating some highly public legal hiccups in his younger days, he made a big deal out of using his platform for positive influence and being an honest witness, a phrase he's even repeated in documentaries about his life. Close advisors have revealed that he definitely weighed the potential backlash. Aligning with a federal investigation against a fellow music titan could easily fracture industry relationships. Hollywood can be a small, vengeful town, y'all, but advisors also pointed out the reputational risk of saying no. If he'd been subpoenaed later and forced to testify, the optics could have painted him as evasive, uncooperative, or even worse, potentially complicit. By choosing to cooperate now, Bieber is positioning himself as forthright, transparent, and willing to engage. It's a posture that has served him well during his previous very public rebrandings. He's been through the public scrutiny ringer before, and he knows how to spin it. The timeline leading up to his decision unfolds across several intersecting investigations. When they raided Combs-affiliated properties, investigators seized digital calendars and guest management apps that listed dozens of high-profile names. Many were redacted in court documents, but some names kept popping up for occasions labeled things like VIP acoustic, afterglow, or just plain old private RSVP. Investigators zeroed in on individuals whose accounts could illustrate event logistics without necessarily alleging personal harm. And guess whose name surfaced repeatedly? Ding, ding, ding. Justin Bieber. Agents contacted his legal counsel, and within weeks, the initial meetings happened. People familiar with these sessions described them as cordial but exact. Prosecutors made it crystal clear they wanted facts. Chronological timelines, arrival procedures, security briefings, departure protocols. They weren't looking for creative anecdotes or moral judgments. They wanted the cold, hard facts. And Bieber, known for his detailed recall when he's prepping for tour memories, reportedly provided times, driver arrangements, even the playlist selections from the early hours of one event. Such granular detail, prosecutors argue, adds a layer of authenticity to the logistical claims that are already backed up by email threads and text conversations pulled from Combs' staff phones. It's like connecting the dots from a policy memo saying no phones allowed to Bieber saying, yep, they took my phone at the door at 9:17 p.m. He's like, you can allow that, dude? Industry analysts are already predicting when the prosecution will trot out their pop music superstar witness. They expect Bieber's testimony midway through their case. The game plan? Bring in the dry, technical witnesses first, the financial folks, the security detail, the people who can explain the paperwork and the NDAs. Let the jury digest the operational complexities. Then bring in the recognizable figure, Bieber, to anchor those abstract details in a relatable human narrative. Finally, hit the jury with the emotional, raw stories from the alleged complainants and victims. This pacing is designed to keep jurors engaged over a trial that could stretch for weeks, blending forensic evidence with the kind of celebrity testimony that grabs everyone's attention. Now, for Combs' defense team, cross-examining Justin Bieber is a tightrope walk. It's both perilous and presents an opportunity. On one hand, if they go in too aggressively and try to tear down a witness whose candor seems to resonate with the jury, they risk a massive backlash. It could make them look like bullies attacking a good faith participant. Not a good look. On the other hand, the defense has to challenge any implication that these specific alleged event protocols automatically mean a criminal conspiracy was afoot. Expect them to press Bieber on how rarely he actually attended these events, maybe 2 or 3 out of potentially dozens. The prosecution might mention They'll highlight his limited direct interaction with Combs at these parties, and they'll argue that the security and privacy measures, while strict, weren't some smoking gun of illicit activity. They were just standard for high-profile A-list gatherings. They might even pull out photos of other celebrity parties or charity galas where phone bags and NDA stations are totally normal, trying to convince the jury that these protocols are industry norm, not evidence of something nefarious. Outside the courtroom, the ripple effects are cascading like dominoes. Sponsorship teams for brands aligned with Bieber are huddled in emergency meetings, crafting contingency messaging. They know that any courtroom excerpt could be spliced into a viral soundbite within minutes. Fan communities are already a polarized battleground, some praising Bieber's civic duty, others totally freaking out about him being dragged through the mud. 3 to 4 years, because this is the streaming platforms are bracing for spikes, not just in Bieber's music catalog streams, but in the comment section wars that are about to explode. Business partners tied to Combs are reassessing their endorsement calendars, knowing that the headline Bieber testifies is going to pop up every time there's a major trial milestone. In the middle of all this maneuvering, both artists have careers to manage. Bieber is juggling new music releases and philanthropic pushes, all while prepping for the insane scrutiny that sworn testimony brings. Every single word he says will be transcribed, dissected, and probably turned into a meme before the court reporter can finish typing. Combs is focused on his defense strategy and trying to mitigate the corporate damage, facing the optics of a younger megastar aligning with the prosecutors. Even if Bieber's testimony doesn't make a direct accusation, the imagery of Pop's former wunderkind under oath against hip-hop's self-styled mogul completely alters the narrative arc. It's a generational symbol weighing in on the alleged excesses of a predecessor. Talk about drama. What is absolutely, totally, 1000% undisputed is the sheer magnitude of juror interest this is going to generate. Court administrators are already planning for overflow crowds, setting up lottery systems for the limited seating and expanding audio feeds for the accredited press. Legal commentators are securing primetime slots, ready to dissect every exchange, speculating on playlist references and security details like they're breaking down halftime adjustments in the Super Bowl. This isn't just a trial, babes. It's a spectacle that underscores the broader cultural stakes. The witness list itself is practically a billboard chart, right? From a legal strategy perspective, Bieber's upcoming appearance delivers momentum at a pivotal juncture. Prosecutors are banking on his narrative to thread together potentially disparate witness statements, giving the jury a cohesive picture of alleged operational patterns. We're talking invite-only guest list, controlled entrances, travel arrangements shrouded in driver and day paperwork, strict device bans that conveniently prevented independent photo evidence. By testifying that he experienced these exact same protocols firsthand, Bieber is translating what might otherwise read as sterile policy documents into lived moments that jurors can actually visualize. It's like turning a boring rule book into a dramatic scene from a movie. As opening statements get closer, the legal teams are finalizing their game plans. Prosecutors are putting the finishing touches on their direct examination outlines. Paralegals are compiling chronological exhibits, mapping out every party Bieber attended, and jury consultants are running mock sessions, trying to predict exactly how a jury will react when a global pop icon steps into that witness box. For fans and critics alike, the intersection of Bieber's personal redemption arc with Combs' fight for legal vindication is a story rich in contrast. One artist leveraging transparency to reinforce brand renewal, the other invoking the presumption of innocence to protect a lifetime's work. Both narratives will collide beneath those courtroom chandeliers, where a sworn oath overrides chart history, and where a single artist's recollection just might tip the scales of an empire's fate. As the news of Justin Bieber's pending testimony bounced around entertainment desks and legal blogs like a hot potato, the courthouse itself, that imposing stone building, basically turned into a construction site prepping for a major festival. Marshals were mapping security perimeters, anticipating crowds that would make previous trial phases look like a quiet Tuesday. Credentialing staff were drowning in requests, drafting color-coded badges to figure out who was actual press and who was just a lifestyle blogger hoping for a viral TikTok moment. Inside the clerk's chambers, docket managers were doing scheduled gymnastics to ensure enough overflow rooms were set up to stream the proceedings without the whole system crashing. The arrival of a witness whose streaming numbers could rival national TV ratings redefined the logistical stakes, sharpening every pencil stroke on that trial calendar. Behind closed doors, legal teams on both sides were practically living on coffee and takeout, updating their playbooks minute by minute. Prosecutors were building that narrative bridge I mentioned earlier, linking Bieber's recollections directly to the documentary evidence they'd already introduced. Think guest list spreadsheets with time-stamped RSVPs, rideshare vouchers mysteriously coded as VIP shuttle, security memos reminding staff that certain attendees, including, yes, Bieber, required extra deference, but also zero post-event selfies. They were pairing these records with digital forensics pulled from seized servers, triangulating messages between event planners that eerily echoed Bieber's expected testimony about phone-free zones and non-disclosure desks, strategically placed right past valet to go. Create a seamless backbone of corroboration, a direct pipeline from a policy memo to a lived experience to the underlying charge of secretive orchestration. Defense strategists were dissecting that same trove of evidence, hunting for inconsistencies like treasure hunters. They flagged entries showing last-minute guest swaps, arguing that fluent party rosters completely undermine any claim of a long-planned, orchestrated scheme. In their internal slide decks, lawyers compiled images of high-profile events they'd attended. Hollywood charity galas, tech founder mixers, showing that those events also banned cameras, offering them as points of cultural comparison. Their cross-examination strategy hinges on persuading the jury that strict privacy measures are the absolute norm across A-list gatherings, not a smoking gun. To do this, they're reportedly prepping to confront Bieber with friendly examples, asking about other events he attended for fashion brands or billionaires, where guests were greeted with envelopes labeled confidentiality agreement right at the door. Their questioning aims to neutralize any shock value, reframing high XN discretion as commonplace rather than conspiratorial. But even as the litigators fenced over optics, everyone else in the entertainment ecosystem was bracing for impact. Music publishing execs, already nervous about anything that could devalue their catalogs, were on emergency calls, weighing the volatility ahead of quarterly earnings reports. A single negative trial headline could absolutely tank streaming spikes, time to new releases. Insiders were whispering about hedging strategies, maybe staggering song drop dates, or having contingency ad buys ready to pivot if social media sentiment turns sour. For Bieber's stake in his releases, the balance is incredibly delicate. How do you leverage the courtroom buzz without looking like you're exploiting a legal drama? Meanwhile, brands associated with Combs have reportedly entered the third stage of crisis management, what the PR pros call provisional distancing. Marketing assets aren't totally pooled. Licensing deals are notoriously hard to unwind overnight. But creative teams are subtly shifting focus. They're highlighting product attributes over personality, cropping faces tighter in images, shrinking font sizes on name tags, letting imagery of wild nightlife parties fade into sleek, color block minimalism. It's all very subtle, but trust me, the industry notices. Inside federal offices, witness coordination staff were refining travel logistics for Bieber down to the minute, painfully aware of his global profile and fan tracking app that could turn a routine courthouse arrival into a full-blown, screaming flash mob. We're talking unmarked SUVs, decoy convoys, and staggered call times penciled into the plan. Marshals were briefing Bieber's own security on prohibited items in the courthouse, absolutely no personal body cams. No live streaming from the holding corridors, and definitely no sneaking secondary phones into jacket linings. Court officials were even prepping standby mental health clinicians because past celebrity testimonies have shown that throngs of disappointed fans turned away by capacity limits can cause crowd control headaches and trigger serious anxiety responses among younger fans. It's a whole production. As this massive infrastructure clicked into place, the narrative stakes continue to evolve. Prosecutors know that Bieber's presence can humanize timeline details that might otherwise just become a blur of dates and times for the jury. A casual cameo from Combs at a private after-party takes on a whole different resonance when it's recounted by a witness with platinum plaques recognized by literally every age group on the planet. Internal mock trials reportedly bore this out. Test jurors paid way more attention to exhibits connected to Bieber's story, remembering the exact times of night and security measures long after they'd forgotten complicated financial spreadsheets from earlier witnesses. Recognizing this effect, prosecutors have reportedly rehearsed a carefully arched direct examination. They'll start by establishing how Bieber got the invitation, probably through a mutual industry contact. Then they'll track the arrival instructions relayed by Combs' staff. Next, they'll zero in on the no phone check-in, and they'll close by asking about his post-event impressions. Specifically, did anything about the evening feel different or diverge from typical industry mixer? Importantly, they plan to avoid asking him for moral judgments or emotional reactions. They want to keep the focus strictly on objective logistics that align with their allegations of a larger enterprise pattern. It's about the mechanics, not the feelings. The defense, in turn, has reportedly drilled its cross-examination strategy in what they call concentric circles. The outer circle aims to establish Bieber's limited sample size, emphasize that he only attended maybe 2 or 3 events out of potentially dozens the prosecution will cite, implying that his experience is just anecdotal variance, not evidence of a pattern. Now, the middle circle is designed to elicit concessions, get Bieber to admit that other high-profile hosts, from tech billionaires to royal charities, also enforce device bans, privacy contracts, and controlled transport. The inner circle is where they'll try to highlight any positive recollections, the professional valet service, the tasteful catering, the cordial staff, arguing that these gatherings simply mirrored legitimate high-end hospitality standards. The theory here is, if jurors accept that exclusive events routinely embrace secrecy for perfectly legal reasons, the prosecution's theory of malicious concealment might lose all its traction. It's all about reframing perception. While the legal teams are deep in strategy mode, layers of the entertainment ecosystem are holding their breath. Touring agencies are running what-if spreadsheets. If jury selection drags, where will headline clashes cause chaos for road crews? Festival promoters are weighing adding non-controversial headliners as insurance, just in case either artist's public image takes a nosedive during the trial. Streaming playlist editors are debating temporarily demoting catalog placements if litigation revelations get particularly graphic. All of this planning is flowing into staggered Google Drive dashboards with project names like Winter Risk Mitigation and Roster Volatility Map. Sounds dramatic? It is. Media houses are capitalizing on a situation, deploying combined legal and entertainment desks to produce dual-lane coverage. Morning segments focus on the evidentiary nuance for the policy wonks, while evening packages mix legal updates with panel chatter about celebrity responsibility. Big box news networks are rehearsing side-by-side B-roll montages. Bieber's Purpose tour crowds cut against footage of Combs' legendary roller skating soirees, ready to roll the second that first sworn statement hits the record. Digital publishers have pre-written SEO-optimized explainer pieces, why Justin Bieber's testimony matters. Every time Bieber and Diddy cross paths, what a star witness can and can't do to a case. Raise the click fun. In the social media sphere, fandom analysis accounts are mapping the overlap between Bieber's followers, heavy on millennials and Gen Z, and Combs' audience, broader, anchored by 90s nostalgia and hip-hop fans. Predictive algorithms are warning that while Bieber's base tends to rally behind perceived vulnerability, they can pivot into fierce dissent if they sniff out exploitation or brand misalignment. Strategists are flagging phrases likely to trend: justice for Justin, bad boy trial, we believe Bieber, and are prepping clarifying content to curb misinformation about trial dates, courthouse access, or whether there are actual tickets to sit in the courtroom. Spoiler, there aren't. Amid all this forecasting, the artists themselves are navigating incredibly private deliberations. Bieber's camp is reportedly coaching him on courtroom comportment. Maintain a neutral facial expression, avoid sidebars with gallery acquaintances, even if they're famous, and let his lawyers object rather than trying to correct things himself under questioning. They've arranged wellness check-ins, acutely aware that recounting past events in an adversarial setting can absolutely stir up dormant anxieties. Combs' inner circle, meanwhile, is fine-tuning jury consultant reports, scanning for demographic clusters predicted to either lionize entrepreneurial perseverance or distrust pop idol celebrity. One single alternate juror, analysts warn, could potentially frame Bieber as an interloper with limited industry grit, thereby softening the punch of his testimony. Every detail matters. Several days before Bieber's scheduled appearance, the court convened a pre-testimony conference to finalize the order of exhibits. Prosecutors reportedly submitted clips from venue security logs showing time-stamped entries that match Bieber's own phone metadata, a strategic anchor designed to thwart any challenges to his credibility. The defense requested stipulations acknowledging that on the specific dates in question, no complaints were filed by Bieber or his entourage, hinting that any alleged irregularities didn't rise to an actionable offense in real time for him. The judge granted the stipulation in principle, subject to the exact wording, trying to balance a fair evidentiary flow with clarity for the jury. During those same proceedings, prosecutors reportedly confirmed they have no intention of asking Bieber about any other uncharged celebrities who might have been present at the gatherings. This choice is aimed squarely at preventing the trial from turning into a chaotic sideshow of mini-trials about everyone else who was there. Defense attorneys publicly applauded this limitation, though privately they noted it narrows their room to suggest alternative interpretations of guest list management. The narrative corridor, they reasoned, the easier it might be for jurors to see the events as isolated networking functions rather than cogs in a larger alleged illicit engine. It's a careful dance of perception. Away from the intense legal shuffling, local authorities were steeling themselves for crowd control complexities totally unique to pop fandom. Past experiences have shown that even rumors of Bieber's presence can completely clog nearby streets. The City Transit Bureau coordinated with rideshare firms to establish geo-fenced drop zones 2 blocks from the courthouse, desperately hoping to avert gridlock. Corner cafes stocked extra decaf options, legal spectatorship is notoriously long and caffeine-intensive, and pitched their window front seats to digital news crews hungry for atmospheric cutaways. It's a logistical ballet, all for one witness. On trial eve, final rehearsals played out. Bieber's lawyers reportedly had him recite a streamlined timeline: invitation, arrival, observations, departure. They reminded him that "I don't recall" is a perfectly permissible answer when memory is hazy, coached him to pause after each question so the court transcribers could capture his exact phrasing, and suggested a soft vocal cadence designed to project earnestness without coming across as overly theatrical. Combs' defense team, meanwhile, role-played cross-examination patterns, toggling between cordial and confrontational tones to simulate potential courtroom atmospheres. They built in pivot phrases designed to yank the jurors' focus. Mr. Bieber, would it surprise you to learn? For clarity, you're referring to a single occasion, and at no point did you... all meant to shrink sweeping impressions into manageable, less impactful facts. Meanwhile, courthouse tech crews were triple-checking digital redaction overlays, absolutely terrified of accidentally revealing private medical notes or witness addresses displayed on monitors. A single misclick revealing personal data could trigger immediate objections, mistrial motions, or even worse, a contempt slap for the party responsible. Senior clerks were reminding teams that viral screenshots are born in milliseconds, meaning every document flash on screen earned a practice run under time pressure drills. The stakes are that high. Finally, the morning agenda for the courtroom is locked. Preliminary housekeeping first. Then likely a brief witness from, say, a rideshare company to authenticate travel logs, laying the groundwork. And then, the main event. Justin Bieber, sworn and seated, his right hand raised beneath the court seal. In that precise moment, the massive gulf between the music charts and the legal ledger narrows down to a single oath. Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. For the prosecutors, it's the culmination of months spent coaxing a global superstar's memories into the rigid, unforgiving shape required by federal evidence rules. For the defense, it's a critical opportunity to remind the jury that even celebrity perspective isn't some all-knowing, omniscient truth. And for the public used to seeing pop fame through highlight reels and heavily filtered live streams, it's a rare, unfiltered look at that fame stripped down to yes or no precision, set against stakes that stretch miles beyond the glow of any concert stage. This is it, babes. The show is about to begin. Oh, cacho, deep breath. That is a lot to unpack, right? The fact that Justin Bieber is stepping into this legal firestorm is absolutely massive. It changes the whole dynamic, brings in a new generation, and frankly, just adds another layer of absolute chaos to an already wild case. Will his testimony be the smoking gun prosecutors hope for, or will the defense manage to frame his experience as just another day in the life of an A-lister? What do you think? Is Bieber's testimony gonna be the game changer? Let me know all your thoughts and theories in the comments below. And seriously, if you haven't already, you need to hit that like button and subscribe. Ring that bell so you don't miss any updates on this saga or any of the other juicy Hollywood chaos I'm tracking. Stay tuned, stay curious, and get ready for more drama, babes. Because if you thought this was peak chaos, just you wait. I'm Madison Starr, signing off with one last piece of advice. Never say it can't get any crazier, because in Hollywood, it always can. Stay messy, stay blessed, and I'll catch you in the next scandalous update. Cheers!